Hi, you're watching West Bloomfield 911. My name is Officer David McNealy, and on behalf of Chief Michael Patton and my Deputy Chief Kurt Lawson, and my brothers and sisters in blue, I'd like to welcome you to an all-new West Bloomfield 911 show. This is my partner,
Zena, Dailey.
I'd like to welcome Zachary
Yaksich and Joanna Yaksich. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Hi.
Sit tight for us, guys, real quick while we flip the show over to Zena's Daily on the Daily.
Hello, West Bloomfield. Welcome to Daily on the Daily. Let's start with Ask a Cop a Question. This question comes from Dave in West Bloomfield. Dave asks, what is the curfew in West Bloomfield? Well, coming right out of our ordinance book, if you are under the age of 12, it is unlawful to be in a public place or other place normally open to the general public between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless you are accompanied by a parent or guardian or an adult delegated by that parent or guardian. If you're under the age of 16, it is unlawful to be out between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. Again, unless you're accompanied by a parent, guardian, or an adult delegated by that parent or guardian. One exception to that, if you're under the age of 16, if you are running errands or legitimate business for that parent or guardian, you can be out. So remember, under 12, 10 p.m., under 16, midnight. And of course, if you have your own household curfews, make sure you follow those rules as closely as you follow our rules. Dave, thanks for the question. Be like Dave. Like us on Facebook, West Bloomfield Police Department. Ask us a question, and we'll try to get that answered for you as well. Moving on today, we're going to talk about motorcycle helmet laws. From 2014 to 2015, motorcycle deaths grew by 8.3% across the U.S. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration claimed 382 motorcyclists died in 2015 than in the previous year. The NHTSA states helmets are estimated to reduce the risk of death by 37% for motorcycle riders and 41% for passengers. And according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, helmets reduce the risk of head injury by 67%. In 2015, an estimated 1,772 lives were saved by wearing a helmet. So Michigan allows riders and passengers to decide whether they want to wear a helmet or not. Of course, we always recommend it for safety reasons, and as you just heard, the percentages of to reduce death or head injury. But of course, it is up to you to decide. There are requirements though. So to legally not wear a helmet, if you are a rider, the motorcyclist, you have to be at least 21 years old, and you have to hold $20,000 in first-party medical benefits. You also have to have an endorsement for at least 2 years, a motorcycle endorsement for at least 2 years, or have passed an approved motorcycle safety course. For passengers, you're also allowed to make the decision on your own whether you want to wear a helmet or not, and of course we recommend it, but your requirements are pretty simple as well. 21 years old, at the very least 21 years old, and have at least $20,000 in first-party medical benefits in addition to the insurance required by the motorcycle rider or the operator. Anyone younger than 21 years old must wear a helmet approved by the U.S. Department of Transportation when operating or riding on a motorcycle. And it is still required for individuals younger than 19 years of age to wear a helmet operating a moped on a public highway. Although you have the right to choose, we always recommend that you do wear your helmet for your safety. You can find more information on motorcycle and helmet laws on the Secretary of State website. That's www.michigan.gov. And that is your Daily on the Daily. Dave?
Thanks, see a lot of great information. Viewers really appreciate all the research that you do, so thank you for that.
Zachary, Joanna, we're going to ask you guys to hold on 1 second while we take a short station break.
Folks, we'll be right back.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
After the tragic loss of an officer in the line of duty, Michigan Concerns of Police Survivors provide support to surviving law enforcement families and co-workers. To learn more about My Cops and upcoming events, or for information on how you can help, visit micops.org or call 877-464-2677.
Hi, welcome back. I'm David McNealy.
I'm Zena Dailey.
Welcome back, Zachary and Joanna.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks.
being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Guys, you ever run into somebody and just keep bumping into them and just keep bumping into them, and you just say, what the heck, I'm just going to strike up a conversation. And that's how I met Zachary. And believe it or not, I wasn't writing him a ticket when we met, right, Zach?
That's right. That'll be hard for my family and friends to believe as well.
Should we know that right now? Should
No.
we hear that from him?
No.
We got a lead foot on our hands, or is it Joanna that's the lead foot, or is it both of you guys combined?
I'm guilty.
All right, that's you.
He takes the prize on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how I met Dave. We kept running into each other, and
You run into obviously in West Bloomfield,
in
but
West Bloomfield, yep, where I reside, and we started conversations and started talking about life events a little bit, and we got into the conversation about my something that happened to me, a tragedy that happened to me and my family, and it was loss of my daughter Alana.
Now, that's the name tag that you and Joanna have on her shirt. That's a foundation you
Yeah,
guys are part
Alana's
of?
foundation, yes, and Alana's foundation was founded in memory of my daughter Alana, obviously in 2003. We lost her in less than 24 hours, believe it or not, due to influenza. It was, if you have I woke up one Saturday morning and my daughter said I was excited to take her to her dance.
And how old was she at the time?
She was 5. She was
Okay.
5. And she said, I'm not really feeling that well. I don't want to go today. Took her temperature, and it was like 99. It was nothing, alarming. And she had no other really symptoms of any kind. Didn't really think anything of it. Went through the day. I remember the day specifically. There was a snowstorm, and so I made a snowman outside with her brothers. And she felt well enough to come outside. She came outside.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
At the time, I had 3.
Yes.
Now I have 4. We have, and she decorated the snowman with us, and then she went through the day and she played with the brothers, and she had pizza for dinner and ice cream, and put her to bed. And after a couple hours, she woke up and she was lethargic. She had a 106-degree temperature.
Okay, so it spiked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I didn't believe it the first time, so I got another thermometer and took it again. It was 106. So we called the ambulance, and
They called the West Bloomfield
West
Fire
Bloomfield
Department?
Fire Department, yeah. And they came and took her to the hospital by ambulance, and she was probably in there in the ICU for about an hour, hour and a half, and they couldn't get her temperature to go down. And then they finally said, okay, we're going to admit her to the pediatric ICU. And upon admitting her, she actually went into convulsions and fell into a coma. Right there in front of my eyes.
This is all happening over the course of a couple of hours.
Yeah, a couple hours.
And normally, I mean, throughout her day, everything appeared to be somewhat normal, even her temperature.
Yeah, 99. It was not. I didn't think anything of it.
Cold
Yeah.
symptoms.
Just thought it was a cold. And then so they hooked her up to life support, and then after several hours, they still had trouble telling me they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then the doctor came out and said, your daughter's got influenza. And at that time, I was ignorant to the fact that influenza could kill.
Right.
And so, ironically, I actually had a sigh of relief and said, okay, it's just the flu. She's going to be fine.
I think like
Right.
any other parent.
Yeah.
I think any other parent would say
Right.
the same thing that you just said.
Yeah, and then the doctor said, no, you don't understand. The flu's attacked her brain, and there's nothing we can do with her. She's gonna, she's gonna pass away. And I sat there for a little bit, in shock, still trying to comprehend it all. And they actually wanted to take her off the life support that evening. And our family is very much faith, strong belief in faith, and we asked them to keep her alive for another couple of days, hoping that, praying that there would be a change.
Was the whole family around you at this time?
Yeah, so the immediate family was there, and then within hours, believe it or not, the community was very supportive. I mean, our church community, as well as the West Bloomfield community, the school that she went to, they had to actually stop people coming to visit at one point. The hallway of the hospital was just filled.
And what year did this?
This was in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, there was no change, and then they took her off the life support, and we lost Alana. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've since spoken, and for the viewers that I had to bring Zachary and Joanna on the show to share this, because having children of my own, and I know Z does too, we wanted to share this because we thought it was important, and we're so grateful that you guys came on the show to share that part of it with us, and so continue on with
So
us.
that's and that's the reason why we started Alana's Foundation. It was for that reason, for people like yourselves, and because we were ignorant to the fact that the flu could kill. I said to myself, there has to be something positive that can come out of this. As tragic as it is, I have to let other families know that this can happen, that the flu is not just, you know, we're all guilty, I think, of using it as a general term when you're sick. Oh, I just have a touch of the flu. And I hear that today still. And so we started Alana's Foundation.
I think everybody you know would probably be guilty, including myself, of
Absolutely.
saying that. I think I got
Absolutely.
the flu, and
kind of blow it
if
off.
you only know what's at the other end of that,
Yeah.
you would probably take it a lot more seriously. But I want to just go back to before she passed away, and how did, you know, in such a tragic situation, how did, like, Joanna, because I know my siblings, and I'm sure you can attest to, like, me and my sister are super tight.
Yeah.
And she's sometimes my rock when I'm not so solid as a rock. I mean, would you say that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true in our family as well.
How was the support there for you? Were you just as much in shock from this? And did you feel the same way about, quote unquote, the flu?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when all that was going on at the hospital, I was home with his other kids.
Okay.
And trying to get updates and trying to stay positive.
And you're like, it's just a flu. Everything's gonna be okay, right?
Yeah, you know, you're trying to talk yourself into it that it's going to be okay. My mom and dad were with him. I was with the kids, and then at some point, it was when he told us, "No, this is going to happen." So I kind of panicked a little. Called my husband. Called somebody to come and stay with the kids because it was in the middle of the night.
Sure.
And felt horrible about leaving the two younger ones back home. His oldest was 7 at the time, and then another brother at 18 months. But I needed to get there because my brain's like, there has to be something. You're in a hospital. You're in a world-class hospital, and they're telling you there's nothing they can do.
About the flu, right?
This is the flu, right? So on the way there, I remember, because I was panicking and my husband was driving, and I said, I reached out to our priest, who was out of town at the time, and I distinctly remember, thankfully he answered the phone, and I said, you know, this is going to happen. My niece is going to die. And he was in Florida trying to get back, and he said, you know, he's trying to talk me out. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. You must have something wrong. And I'm like, no, this is really going to happen. So, you know, the impact, because you're trying to wrap your head around the unthinkable, and you can't. You know, it's just, it happened so fast, like Zach said. It was, I think, start to finish, 18 hours.
Wow.
And it was just, I mean, even now when you repeat it back, it's still hard to believe. So.
Did you guys feel like after that, when that was happening, did you feel like you were in a panic to get everyone the flu shot at, like your other kids? I don't know, Joanna, if you have kids, did you feel like everyone needs to get their flu shot now? Did that panic set in?
The panic was more so, I mean, I wanted to get my kids immediately, yes, and then the panic was, like I said, I have to educate people.
Yeah.
I have to educate people and tell them. I mean, first thing I did was talk to the pediatrician, and I was, why didn't you, because my wife was diligent about getting our kids vaccinated and other vaccines and going to the well visits, and why didn't you offer the flu shot to us? And at that time, I mean, she said, well, it's the CDC your child didn't fall in the age recommendation, which is okay, but I still feel like you should have given us the information, told us how dangerous it was, and let us make the choice, not just take it upon yourself.
Was this still in the era too, like we said about being ignorant about it? There was controversy surrounding it, because I'll be honest with you, after meeting you, I've talked to some very, very close friends of mine, Dr. Jeff Shapiro and Michelle Shapiro, they're very dear friends of mine, and I was talking to Jeff, and I said, I'm not going to get this flu shot. I was kind of scared of it. I was scared of it. I wasn't sure. I was ignorant to it. And my friend Jeff said, he says, oh, you're being ridiculous. He says, I get it. And it's a dead strain. And because I think people had the myth at that time that you were being injected with something less than holistic, or, forgive my terms when it comes to that. But I didn't have a lot of knowledge on it. And once I became educated on it, I think that's a big deal too with people.
Well, it is, absolutely. And the nice thing is you went to a doctor, a medical professional who educated you. Unfortunately, today a lot of people get their information from the internet.
Right.
And which is frustrating it was frustrating for me at the time, and it's frustrating every day when I talk to everyday people, because they say, oh, I heard, most recent one at the last event that I saw you at, Dave, I had a pregnant mother told me that she heard that later in life, if you get the flu shot, you'll have Alzheimer's. And I said, well, where did you get that information? And she was real defensive, and she thought she was hurting my feelings. And I was like, no, I really just want to know where you're getting this information.
Tell me where you're getting the information.
Right.
And, well, I got it off the internet. She didn't have any resources. She didn't have any medical professions. It was just, So, yeah, it's you're right. A lot of people do have that, they're misinformed.
Right.
But if you talk to a medical professional and they can answer all your questions and concerns, still, if you choose not to, I guess that's still your choice. But it's hard to deny science. I think a lot of people make decisions today on emotion, based on emotion and out of fear. But all the myths that surround it have all been debunked. I mean, they really have. So,
well, Zena and I were talking off air about it too, and after I was educated, like you said, knock on wood, guys, for the last several years, I haven't gotten a flu, and I will tell all the viewers too. In the last couple of years, I've gotten my flu shot from your foundation, and I just want to. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Dave DeBoers with our fire department, and your loss has impacted him to this day.
Absolutely,
and I've been here as a policeman for 21 years, and Dave's been here that amount of time as a fire department personnel, and it's impacted him. I just wanted you guys to know that. And he said that's how you guys have linked up, and because I said, hey, that's my friend. I didn't just identify you as the flu shot guy. I said, that's my friend, and I've known him for a few years now. I said, wonderful guy. And I said, I'm trying to get him on the show, and I'm trying to talk Joanna into coming on the show with him, to talk about this situation. And Zena are talking about it again. It's such a tragedy, but it's in fact, it's, I don't know if I'm going to express this right way, but an amazing tragedy, because it turned that tragedy into something beautiful. And so let's talk more about your foundation.
Sure, yeah. The foundation, like I said, it was named after Alana. Informally, we started it the year after she passed away, and we did that by holding flu clinics at the school that she attended, which at the time was Pine Lake Elementary, and then at our church. And
where's your church?
It's at St. George Greek Orthodox Church. It's in Bloomfield Hills, off of Woodward. And then over the first couple of years, we added on a clinic or two, so, and I got asked to speak in front of different groups, PTOs.
Was that hard for you at first?
Yeah, it was very hard.
Is Joanne the shy one? She doesn't strike me as shy. I'm just like putting her on the spot, guys.
She is, though. Yeah. And then in doing this, we found that a lot of people would come to our clinics, and I'd watch a family come in, and the mother and father were picking and choosing who they were going to get vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
They would get these two children who were young, when I'm talking to them was asking them why, and said they couldn't afford it.
Wow.
So that's when we looked at each other and said, well, we have to do something to overcome that barrier. And we became an official 501c3.
Okay.
And we hold the fundraiser every year to raise funds to help subsidize the uninsured, underinsured
I'll stop you right there. If somebody wants to help, what's the website?
www.alanasfoundation.org.
Okay.
And they can donate through the website?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys continued. So you saw that as a problem, and how did you guys tackle that? That's why you started the...
That's when we became an official, like I said, nonprofit. So we could, legally and abide by all the rules to raise money and pass it along. And then we've grown in the sense that we work with the clinics in Detroit, many clinics in Detroit.
That's amazing.
And supply them. They write a grant request to us, and based on the monies that we have available, we fund them, and they're able to buy vaccines and administer them to their population, that otherwise wouldn't
And you
get
see an
vaccinated.
increase in that?
We've seen a substantial increase
What do
in
you,
that.
what do you
Yeah.
do for the foundation?
So pretty much on a daily basis, I try and keep things going because we're 100% volunteer. So we have a very small board. All of us have other obligations in our lives.
Sure.
And so I'm lucky enough that I have the time to devote to it. I also help my husband with his business in Birmingham. But like I said, I'm lucky enough that I do that from home and I can do this on the side, if you will. But it's really like a full-time job. If you're going to make the decision to have a nonprofit, you have to.
So your
Put your
family
time into it.
family tragedy on a personal level. We've heard Zach say how it impacted his family, but how did it impact your family?
From my perspective, what I tell people, I was not Alana's mom. Zach and I have the same last name, but I didn't change my last name, so that's why
A lot of people think when
that
they see
I'm
us-
the mother or his wife. And I need to clarify that I'm not, and I don't have kids of my own. And I say that only because the profound impact that it did have on the extended family is hard for people to, I think, really understand.
That's right.
And for me, it's because it was vaccine preventable. When you learn that this was really, could have been prevented by getting a vaccination. I never got vaccinated from the flu. I worked in corporate world and they offered vaccinations all the time, and I don't get sick. I had the same response that most people do. And but when this happened, when you start educating yourself, I think that's the hardest thing for me to accept and overcome, and the biggest message that I need to get out to people, that you can prevent this or potentially prevent a death from just getting a simple vaccination.
Now, does the foundation is it strictly based on the flu? Do you guys ever discuss other vaccinations, or do you guys focus on the flu?
We do discuss other vaccinations, and we work closely with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. We attend their flu advisory board, so in those meetings, the discussion always, sometimes the other vaccines come up, but the foundation strictly flu
the flu.
vaccines.
Particular vaccines, and you turn on the TV and you hear about bird flu and all these different types of strains and stuff like that. How do you guys address those questions? And when people are hesitant about getting vaccinations, what do you say to them?
That is a little bit tricky because unfortunately the flu, you need to get that flu vaccine every single year, and it changes every single year. And they base it on the strains that are circulating in the southern hemisphere. And that's how they determine ours. And it takes, several months to grow the vaccine. And so it does make it a little bit difficult, and I think that adds to people's confusion about the effectiveness of it. But we always say it's better to have some protection than no protection. You can actually still get sick even if you get the flu vaccination, but by being vaccinated, your symptoms should be far less.
So do you guys put on events, or do you get called out to speak somewhere about this?
We hold one fundraising event every year. As far as speaking, and it's in August, the first week in August, right before flu season starts. But as far as speaking events, we get asked several times throughout the year. I just recently spoke to Blue Cross Blue Shield Safety Net Symposium in Lansing. It was about 3 weeks ago now. I was there and I spoke to him, and I was speaking
that a large group?
It was probably the largest group that I spoke to.
Okay.
I texted her.
Did she bail on you? Did she go
No,
with
she
you?
was actually speaking on my behalf. I got
All
asked
right.
for 2 engagements the same day, so she spoke on my behalf, but I texted her, I said, you didn't tell me there's going to be 500 plus here.
Wow.
So, but it was all providers, and it was providers throughout the state that dealt with
You say
uninsured
providers. What do you mean?
medical. They help clinics, doctors, nurses,
Okay.
people that
Okay.
Yeah, public health.
public health that, and they targeted uninsured populations. And often when I speak to audiences like that, I often think, I'm just speaking to the choir. I mean, you know this stuff.
Right.
You people know this. You're doctors.
Right.
And inevitably, it was well received, but inevitably afterwards, somebody comes up to me and says, and at this particular event, many people did, you know, you're right. I knew all those facts. I didn't get vaccinated myself, or I didn't get my children vaccinated, but I'm going to do that now because I heard you speak.
And that's one of the reasons why. I mean, I just your tragedy. I felt compelled, to share with our township.
Yeah.
You guys' story, and just to switch gears back to you for a second, as far as impacting other issues like mental health issues and suicide and things like that. I'm often blown away by the fact that how it carries through not just the person that has passed away from, say, a suicide incident, but how it affects the family.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're a little bit behind on remembering the other parts of the family and said, hey, how this affects other parts of the family. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate, you from that perspective too.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
The day he was speaking in Lansing, I was speaking to a group of medical students at Oakland University, William Beaumont, and that was eye-opening to me too. It was thankful to have the opportunity because they're still in their education and training phase, but story after that, one of the students raised her hand and shared that she had gone last year to get herself and her children vaccinated, and her pediatrician said, why would you want to get a flu vaccination?
Really?
The pediatrician themselves basically said they don't get it as a doctor, and their staff doesn't get it.
Wow.
And so she, even though she was a medical student, didn't get it for herself or her kids at the time. Now, she said after listening, that she was going to do that, but that's shocking to me. That's just shocking.
How old do kids have to be to get the flu shot? How young can they be?
6 months or older, yeah.
guys, we're going to be wrapping up the show here, but first of all, my friend Zach, I just want to thank you so much.
Well, thanks
Joanne,
for
thank
having
you
You're welcome.
for coming on and sharing this story with the township and with our viewers. Sum it up in a couple words, each of you, quickly if you can, the importance of a flu shot and making that determination as a parent or a guardian.
I guess, I am the face of the statistics, like I said, that if nothing else to take away from here is I lost my daughter. I'm just like everybody else. I'm here in your community. It happened in less than 24 hours. The flu is real. The flu actually, it does kill. And like Joanna said and emphasized, it's vaccine preventable. So there's really no reason for this to happen, continue to happen.
What would you tell
this
our
tragedy
viewers,
to happen?
I would echo those sentiments and remind everybody that over 115 children a year, and that's 18 years of age or younger, die from a vaccine-preventable disease. So go out. The flu vaccinations are very available. They're at your pharmacies. We hold clinics, doctor's
Real quickly,
offices.
too, you guys also do the West Bloomfield Fire Department's open house every year, and you offer vaccinations there also. Thanks again, guys, so much for coming. Really, really appreciate you sharing this story with us.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, you can keep up with the police department. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also sign up for Nixle.com or crimemapping.com for the most up-to-date information regarding the police department. Thanks again for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.